In the dark hollows of a splintered multiverse, reality folded in on itself. Cosmic strings frayed and dimensional planes collapsed like forgotten pages of a book left too long in the rain. The fabric of existence shuddered, trembling under the weight of an approaching force. Trion Juggernaut, the embodiment of unstoppable motion, powered by the full force of the Crimson Cosmos and driven by the will of the god Cytorrak himself. He moved not with intention, but with inevitability. Planets cracked under his steps, dimensions screamed as he passed through them like silk through fire, and abstract concepts, hope, balance, equilibrium, fractured at his very presence. He had long surpassed the simple directives of destruction. Once sent by Cytorrak as a tool, he now wandered as a force of cosmic absolution. Not for redemption, but to demonstrate supremacy over entropy itself. He became more than a juggernaut. He was inertia personified, a being that the universe could not stop, not with time, space, thought, or godhood. He tore through pantheons, ignored the pleading of reality's architects, and kept moving forward, chasing something that even he could not define. But amid the collapse of realities, one fragment, an oddly preserved sliver of a hyper-fictional Earth, remained untouched. Not by strength, not by force, but by irreverence. A place governed by exaggerated logic, where monsters rose from mutated seafood and heroes trained by doing push-ups. It was here, in the streets of Z City, among the remnants of collapsed buildings and broken skylines, that a man in a yellow jumpsuit with a blank expression and a grocery bag in hand stared at the sky with mild boredom. Saitama. He was not a god. He did not harness the energy of dying stars, nor did he exist within the systems of any defined cosmology. His strength was absurd, almost lazy in how limitless it felt. His power had no source, no divine reason, no origin that made sense. He was the product of narrative disregard, a creature born to break escalation itself. He had beaten every foe with a single punch, not due to strength alone, but because the very structure of his universe bent itself to make him the final answer to conflict. News of Trion Juggernaut's approach echoed across every plane. Cosmic seers screamed warnings before being trampled by causal ripples of the Juggernaut's footsteps. Abstract beings fled to pocket dimensions. The living tribunal debated action and decided in silence that even they could not halt the incoming force. Yet amid this impending storm, Saitama was occupied with something else entirely. He had forgotten to buy discounted eggs, and the sale would end in 25 minutes. The rift opened in the skies above, not with flair, not with fanfare, but like a gaping wound torn into space itself. Trion Juggernaut arrived, not through teleportation, but simply by continuing to walk, his path dragging him from universe to universe. He stepped into Saitama's world as if reality bent in deference. The clouds peeled apart, gravity buckled. The buildings behind him crumbled under pressure that hadn't even touched them yet. For the first time in eons, Juggernaut stopped. Not because he was forced, not because he wished to, but because someone stood in front of him and didn't move. Saitama, eyes dull, expression unmoved, gazed up at the Colossus. "You're in the way." The words weren't loud. They didn't echo with cosmic weight, but they carried something Trion Juggernaut had never heard before. Irreverence. Not fear, not worship, not challenge. Just annoyance. In the silence that followed, the multiverse watched. The Juggernaut did not speak often, but something in this moment cracked open a new layer of consciousness, one shaped not by Cytorrak's will, but by a yearning question. "Why do you not move?" he asked, voice deep enough to cause volcanic tremors across the globe. "Because I'm not in a hurry," Saitama replied, scratching his head, "and your entrance was kinda loud." Trion Juggernaut stared at him. For all his power, he understood something fundamental: opposition. He knew how to tear through resistance, how to counterforce with overwhelming energy. But this man's lack of concern, his detachment from escalation, it was unfamiliar, dangerous even. "You are insignificant," Juggernaut rumbled, "and yet you do not fear me." "I don't fear things I don't know," Saitama said, shrugging. "You're just a big guy with armor." And you're making a mess. A pause. The two stood at the crossroads of genre, philosophy, and narrative purpose. One was the ultimate force within a structured mythos, a being of absolute motion, unstoppable because his god willed it so. The other was a narrative anomaly, unshackled by cosmology or structure, a parody so pure that not even universal law could bind him. The battle wasn't about strength. It never was. It was about purpose. Juggernaut represented finality, the idea that once certain things are set in motion, rage, destruction, vengeance, they cannot be undone. His power was absolute but rooted in something ancient, mythologically rigid. He had to move forward because that was his nature. Saitama, on the other hand, was not bound by myth. He was an answer to absurdity, not by climbing a ladder of increasing stakes, but by refusing to play the game. His power didn't escalate, it invalidated escalation. He didn't grow stronger, he simply was stronger as a narrative fact. He was the end of the power scale, not its peak. Their philosophies clashed before their fists did. "You're not real," Juggernaut finally said. "You are mockery, a trick." "And you're late," Saitama replied, checking his watch. "The sale ends in 20 minutes. Trion Juggernaut's fist clenched. Reality bent as his essence surged. "Then be removed." A soft breeze kicked up dust. The world held its breath. And Saitama smiled, not because he was excited, but because for the first time in a while, something interesting was happening. The sky did not scream when Trion Juggernaut moved. It refused. The atmosphere peeled away in silence, ruptured under the magnitude of a being who did not obey the physics of any single universe, but carried his own set of unbreakable laws like a curse. Each step forward was an act of declaration, the proclamation that resistance was meaningless. Cities miles away collapsed, not because he struck them, but because they couldn't handle the pressure of proximity. And yet, Saitama stood. The cracked pavement beneath his sandals trembled and split, rising in jagged scars of concrete. But the man did not flinch. His cape fluttered once, caught in the shockwave of Juggernaut's next step. But that was all. He narrowed his eyes slightly, not in fear, but in boredom. He had seen cosmic dragons. He had seen martial arts gods scream philosophies before being casually flicked into orbit. This was new, but not impressive. Trion Juggernaut's hand rose. It was a mountain forged in armor, fingers sheathed in dimensional energy that burned with the markings of Cytorrak's runes. The fist, large enough to eclipse buildings, moved downward, not fast, but with a purpose that twisted the air into ribbons. The ground below buckled before the fist even neared. Mountains in distant countries began to shift, reacting to the gravitational weight of the blow. Saitama looked up, sighed, and waited. The punch landed with the force of 1 billion collapsing suns. It tore through air and matter alike, struck the ground where Saitama stood, and created a crater that spanned over half the continent. The clouds above disintegrated. The oceans near the coastlines sloshed outward like ripples in a disturbed bowl. From orbit, it looked like the Earth had been cleaved by a celestial hammer. But the dust settled, and in the center of it all, Saitama remained, untouched. Not because he dodged, not because he defended, but because he didn't need to. Trion Juggernaut stared. His fist, now buried deep into the Earth's crust, retracted slowly. For a moment, he did not speak. He was not confused. Confusion was too mortal an emotion. But there was friction. Something his logic couldn't explain, a result outside expectation. Saitama raised an eyebrow. Was that it? The Juggernaut did not answer with words. He surged forward, both arms out, and charged, invoking the full power of Cytorrak's essence. The very direction of time around him reversed momentarily. Space tore into fractured shards like glass. The world behind him ceased to exist as his momentum consumed causality itself. He wasn't moving. Reality was retreating from his path. He hit Saitama with enough force to erase a dozen dimensions. And yet the man barely shifted his weight. The world turned red. The sky darkened. Flames and matter bent into wormholes that formed and collapsed within milliseconds. Yet in the heart of this carnage stood a man who blinked once, yawned, and reached up slowly with one hand. His fingers curled into a fist, not clenched in rage, not tightened in effort. A loose, unimpressed motion, and he punched. There was no explosion, no light show, no catastrophic chain reaction. The sound was soft, barely more than a clap, and yet in that single moment, motion stopped. Trion Juggernaut froze in place, mid-step, his body rigid as if time itself questioned whether it should continue. The crimson cosmos flared in protest. Juggernaut's armor cracked, not from damage, but from inconsistency. It did not understand how this had happened. How could the unstoppable be stopped? How could momentum be negated not by greater force, but by narrative rejection? He stumbled backward for the first time in all existence. "No," he muttered, voice deeper than tectonic shifts. "I cannot stop. I am forward. I am force." Saitama's shoulders dropped. "You're loud," he said, "and annoying." He appeared in front of Juggernaut instantly. No flash step, no teleportation. Just presence, so absolute that even omnidirectional awareness couldn't track it. He punched again. This time Juggernaut was sent flying. Through mountains, through planets, through universes, through entire concepts of motion itself. In a realm where speed had no meaning, Saitama's strike carried enough intent to launch Trion Juggernaut through layers of reality that couldn't define or anchor him. His unstoppable essence was no longer advancing. It was retreating forcibly and undeniably. When he stopped, if such a thing could be called that, he was somewhere beyond the cosmic veil, a null space, silent, still. He rose barely. "You are contradiction," he growled. "A man with no origin, no purpose, no divine backing. You are not strength, you are mockery of strength." Saitama, who had appeared beside him again, glanced down at his gloves. "You talk too much. Just be glad I didn't use two hands. I am the will of Cytorrak. The cosmos moves for me." Saitama shook his head. "You move for yourself. And for what? To break things? To feel like you're going somewhere? That's not strength. That's just momentum without meaning." Juggernaut's hand rose once more, trembling, not from fear but from dissonance. His nature demanded he keep going, but now a seed of contradiction had been planted. If a man like this could stop him effortlessly, then perhaps he was not unstoppable. And if he was not unstoppable, then what was he? Saitama stepped back, cracked his neck, and looked out into the black. "You're not a threat. You're a loop," he said. "A big, armored, angry loop. The universe just got tired of you." He turned, walked away, cape fluttering slightly. Trion Juggernaut remained behind, silent, not defeated in body, but in principle. He had been confronted not by power, but by narrative invalidation. In the face of absolute satire, cosmic logic had nothing to say. And Saitama? He made it back just in time to grab the last carton of eggs, on discount. Winner Saitama. Not because he was stronger, but because he didn't need a reason to win. And sometimes that's the one thing a being like Trion Juggernaut could never overcome.